Hey Tube, welcome back. Today we'll answer the question, what is cached response? A cached response in context of web services and APIs refers to the practice of storing the output of requests to be reused for later requests without having to recompute or retrieve the original data from the source. This mechanism is widely used to enhance performance, reduce latency, and decrease the load on the server or database by serving repeated requests more quickly. Okay, let's try to know what that means on an easier word. So let's assume that we have the client and we have the server. And the client will send a request to get it from the server, and the server will try to obtain the data that the client wants from um, a DB, a database. Okay. This process takes time and it's not that easy. And a cached response or caching refers to storing server response in the client itself, so that a client needs to not to make server request for same resources again and again. So if the client try to obtain data from the server, for example, want to get the user information from the server, when the client tried to ask for the same data, this response is already cached, so the client will not go again for the server, but instead it will just take it from the cache. So this is what we mean by a cached response. So let's talk about some key aspects in the cached response and why we need it. One minute. The first thing that we want to talk about the efficiency. Caching response allows a system to serve data to users more quickly because the data is stored closer to the user, often in memory, which is faster to access than generating a new response each time from the server or database. Number two, which are quite obvious, will be scalability. By reducing the number of times the server needs to compute or fetch data, caching helps systems handle larger volumes of requests. It reduces the resource consumption on the backend, allowing the system to scale more effectively under high traffic. Number three, reduced latency. For end users, cached responses mean faster access to data, as retrieving data from cache typically takes less time than processing the same data, the same data fresh. This is particularly beneficial for data that doesn't change often and is requested frequently. In terms of caching, we have four type of caching, and it's quite important to talk about all of them. So let's talk about the type of caching that I would like to talk about first about the browser caching. And the browser caching, the client's browser stores web page resources like HTML files, images, and JavaScript. This type of cache avoids the need for repeated downloads on the same assets. Number two, we have the proxy caching. And the proxy caching, often done by intermediate servers like CDN nodes, which serves requests on behalf of the region server by storing copies of response. And lastly, we have the server caching. Server caching, the server itself caches data it generates, such as the results of database queries or complex calculations to speed up response times for similar future requests. Number five, we want to talk about cache control. So, controlling how and when a response is cached is critical for effective caching. HTTP headers such as cache control allow servers to specify whether a response can be cached and for how long. It can also specify other directives like whether the cache should be revelated, like checked for refreshness before being served or not. Number six, cached invalidation. One of the challenges with caching is ensuring that the data served is not outdated. Cache invalidation is the process of removing data from the cache when it's no longer valid due to changes in the underlying data. This can be managed through strategies like setting expiration times or using validation tokens. Number seven, which is last, consistency. When data is cached, it's essential to maintain consistency between the cache and the source data. This is particularly important in dynamic applications where data changes frequently, and stale data can lead to incorrect information being served to the user. So, in summary, cached responses are vital component of modern web architecture, providing a significant performance and scalability benefits. However, they require careful management to ensure that the data served from the cache is timely and accurate, thereby maintaining a good user experience. So that's it for today's video. And if you have any interview question that you don't know how to ask, feel free to give me a comment about the question that you want to an answer for it, and I will answer it for you. So that's it for today's video, and see you in future problem.